In the name of Allah, the infinitely compassionate, the infinitely merciful. All praise is due to the One who made the ant a sign for the heedful, who hid pearls in the cloak of simplicity, and placed eternity in the moment when we choose to see. O seekers of truth! Today, I invite you to journey with me, not outward, but inward, not far but near. For often, the clearest signs of the divine do not thunder from the skies, but walk quietly across your kitchen floor. Yes, I speak of the ant, insignificant to some, intrusive to others, but to the eyes of the awakened heart, a messenger of wisdom sent from the highest throne. Sheikh al-Akbar, Ibn Arabi, taught us, "He who knows himself knows his Lord." And he also taught that the world is a veil, yet also a mirror through which the real, Haku, discloses himself. So when ants enter your home, do not reach first for poison. Reach for understanding. For nothing enters your space without permission from the Lord of the worlds. The ant has no voice, but its presence speaks volumes, if you but listen. Let us now unveil 6 signs, 6 divine messages veiled in the presence of ants. When the ant enters your home, it does so quietly, without malice or intention to disrupt. It does not raise its voice nor demand attention, yet its presence speaks volumes. The first message it brings is one of forgotten cleanliness. A reminder, not just of the dust on the floor, but the dust upon the soul. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, has embedded lessons in every moment, every motion, every creature. The Quran tells us, "Indeed, Allah loves those who are constantly repentant and loves those who purify themselves." This is not merely the outer act of washing the limbs, but the inner work of purifying the heart, sweeping away the cobwebs of heedlessness, polishing the mirror of the self so that it may reflect the light of the divine. The ant comes seeking what you have left behind. A morsel, a forgotten grain, a smear of honey. But what if its presence is more than a search for food? What if it is a subtle, sacred call to awareness? A crumb may seem small to you, but it is abundance to the ant, and a message to you. Just as the ant can sense the sweetness left carelessly behind, so too does the soul become a feast for desires when carelessness prevails. When the world pulls you toward distraction, when you leave remnants of indulgence unchecked, it is not only the ant that is drawn in, it is also the lower self that awakens, eager to feed. Reflect, if you have grown tolerant of disorder in your surroundings, have you also allowed disorder in your inner life? When the home becomes cluttered, it is often a reflection of the unseen inner space, intentions left unattended, prayers delayed, grudges harbored like mold in corners untouched by light. Cleanliness is not just about wiping surfaces, it is about returning to clarity, to presence, to divine alignment. The ant, small as it is, walks across your kitchen floor bearing a message larger than its frame. O forgetful one, return to purity. Its presence calls you to sweep not only the physical floor, but also the floor of your consciousness. To look again at what you've been ignoring, not just the dishes in the sink, but the words unsaid, the apologies postponed, the sacred duties delayed. It is a nudge from the unseen world, a soft alarm that says, you are slipping into forgetfulness. Wake up. Begin again. In the quiet scurrying of these tiny creatures lies a wisdom that shakes the soul. if the heart is awake enough to hear it. When they gather at the sugar you left behind, ask yourself, what sweetness have I exposed? What boundaries have I allowed to fade? For every external disorder invites an internal one. And the call of the ant is not to wage war, but to invite you back to order, to cleanliness, to balance, to the forgotten art of taking care, not only of what is seen, but of what is unseen. Watch them closely, not with the eyes alone, but with the eyes of the heart. See how they move with intention, how they carry their burdens with quiet dignity. No chaos in their ranks, no confusion in their path. Each one is small, yet their collective harmony reflects a truth greater than their individual form. In their discipline is a whisper of the hidden, order that governs all things, an echo of the silent command that keeps the stars in their course and the seasons in their rhythm. We are told in the Quran, everything with him is in due measure. Nothing in existence is accidental. Every leaf that falls, every grain that nourishes, every heartbeat and breath, they unfold according to a divine blueprint. The ant, though among the smallest of creatures, moves as if it knows this. It does not question its role or rebel against its design. It simply fulfills its task with presence and precision. There is no room for waste in its world, no energy spent in vain. But as for us, children of thought and longing, we are easily scattered. Our days pass in distraction. We wake unsure of why we rise. We run without knowing where we're going. Our limbs are busy, but the heart is lost. We fill our time with noise and movement, but few of our steps are rooted in intention. The ant comes to remind us, not all motion is purpose. Not all doing is becoming. Look again. The ant may be small, but it is rich in meaning. When it enters your space, it may be carrying more than a crumb. It may be carrying a message from the unseen. If your home has become a place of disorder, if your routines are broken, your prayers rushed, your focus shattered, perhaps this visitor is asking, what is the Qibla of your life? What is your direction, not in body, but in soul? The ant never loses its way. Even when scattered, it finds its tribe. Even when alone, it remembers its path. It does not walk in circles. It moves forward. So why, with our higher faculties and deeper consciousness, do we often wander aimlessly? We make plans without vision. We take on weight without wisdom. Our burdens feel heavier, not because they are more, but because we lack the clarity that the ant embodies so naturally. This creature, insignificant in size, carries 10 times its weight without complaint. Perhaps you too are stronger than you know. Perhaps the reason life feels heavy is not the weight itself, but the absence of alignment. When the heart is aligned with purpose, even mountains can be moved. So when you see the ant next, do not merely observe its movement. Let it reflect your own. Let it remind you that divine order is not just in the heavens, but within you. And that it is never too late to move with purpose, to choose your direction again, and to walk in harmony with the hidden rhythm that guides all things. The ant enters without knocking, without warning, without fanfare. It crosses the threshold of your home with such silence that you often do not notice until there are many. By the time you pay attention, they have already mapped the terrain, found their path, and begun to settle. Their entry is not violent, not hostile. but it is persistent. And this is how many things in our lives come, not with thunder, but with a whisper, not as conquerors, but as uninvited guests who make themselves at home. There are guests you welcome, and guests you would never choose. But not all that enters your space asks for permission. The ant teaches us this, and not only in the physical sense. For just as it finds the smallest crack in the wall, so too do other, more subtle forces find cracks in the soul, habits you thought harmless, words you spoke in anger, doors you left open in the silence of your inattention. You see, everything in this world has a form. Some wear bodies, others wear moods, emotions, or states of mind. Just as a scent draws flies, certain energies draw their own kind. When jealousy is left unchecked, it invites resentment. When a friendship continues past its season, it can become a channel for confusion. When anger lingers, it opens a door through which arrogance or cruelty may walk. These are not always visible, but they are real. You feel them in the sudden heaviness of your home, in the friction of your relationships, in the unexplained wariness of your heart. The world is like a house with many doors, and not all who enter come with light. Sometimes we mistake noise for company. We let in distractions, certain entertainments, certain conversations, and with them come unseen shadows. The soul, when it is not guarded, becomes like a home without locks. Whatever passes by may enter, and not all who enter will leave willingly. So when you see ants crawling along the baseboards of your kitchen, ask yourself, what else has crept in that I have not seen? What thoughts have I allowed to grow roots in me? What influences have I permitted into my home, into the spaces where I rest, where I pray, where I raise my children? If the physical world mirrors the spiritual, then every visible intrusion is a sign, a symbol, an echo of something subtler, deeper. You do not need to be afraid, but you must be awake. This is the lesson. Wakefulness is protection. Awareness is light. Heedlessness is the crack through which everything enters unnoticed. The ant does not break down doors. It simply finds where you were not looking. And so do many of the troubles that settle into our lives. They arrive through distraction, delay, and the quiet belief that small things do not matter. But the small always grows. The unseen always manifests. And the unnoticed becomes the unmanageable, unless we return, in humility and vigilance, to guard the doors of our inner and outer homes. The ant moves with quiet certainty, gathering not in panic, but with purpose. It carries what it finds, not for indulgence, but for sustenance. It does not live only in the now, nor is it trapped by the fear of tomorrow. Its motion speaks of a deep trust in the rhythm of provision. Watch it closely, and you will see the echo of a divine reality reflected in its tiny, tireless body. It enters your home because your home holds what it seeks. Have you ever paused to reflect on this? Out of all the places in the world, it finds its rizq with you, not by accident, not by chance, but by decree. What draws the ant to your space is not random. It is guided by a force far beyond what you see. In its journey, you are shown a profound truth. What is meant for you will arrive, even if it walks on 6 legs and weighs less than a grain of rice. Yet how often do we look around our homes, sheltered warm, filled with food, water, and comfort, and still feel something is missing? We say we are struggling, even as our tables are full. We chase after more, while overlooking what already surrounds us. Our hearts are trained to notice what is lacking, not what is present. But the ant sees what is, and moves toward it. It does not curse the cold ground, nor wait for sweetness to fall into its nest. It searches, it trusts, and when it finds, even the smallest morsel, it rejoices in it. This is rizq, not only what you eat, but what you are given in all forms, a moment of peace, a good word, a loyal friend, a door that opens without effort. And the most subtle provision of all, the awareness to recognize provision when it comes. For what good is abundance if the soul is blind to it? The sacred text says, "If you are grateful, I will surely increase you." Gratitude is not a mere utterance of thanks, but a state of seeing. The one who is truly grateful does not wait for more before they begin to give thanks. They see value in the little, beauty in the small, blessing in the overlooked. The ant carries a crumb, but carries it with dignity. It does not scorn its size. It does not compare. And through this humility, it thrives. So when you see ants gathering in your kitchen, do not dismiss them as pests. Ask yourself instead, what is in this house that even they find nourishment here? If the smallest of Allah's creatures finds sustenance under your roof, then surely you, too, are being provided for. Perhaps the provision is not what you expected. Perhaps it does not wear the form of what you desired. But it is there, quiet, sufficient, waiting to be seen. The ant does not need more to be grateful. It only needs to see what is already before it, and so do we. When the ant crosses your path, small and seemingly insignificant, it carries with it more than its tiny body suggests. It is not simply a creature moving along its way. It is a sign, a subtle test, a question posed by the unseen. How will you respond to what disturbs you? Our first instinct, often, is to react, to eliminate what inconveniences us, a hand raised, a foot ready to strike, a voice that curses under its breath. The ant becomes the target of our irritation, though it has brought no harm, declared no war. It has simply appeared as it was meant to, following the divine script written for it in the unseen. The prophet forbade the killing of ants without cause. Why? Because they are not without purpose. Because even they, in their silence, glorify their Lord. The Quran reminds us, there is not a thing, but that it glorifies Him with praise, but you do not understand their glorification. This means that even what crawls beneath your feet may be engaged in remembrance more sincere than yours, more continuous, more aligned with the rhythm of the cosmos. And yet, how swiftly we are ready to destroy what we do not understand. Here lies the test. It is not about the ant. It is about you. When something small disrupts your comfort, when something uninvited enters your space, will you act from your lower self or from a place of restraint and awareness? The ant becomes the mirror in which your patience is reflected. It shows you how quickly your hand turns violent when your control is challenged. The truth is, not all battles are worth fighting. Not every disturbance is a threat. Some are opportunities to pause, to breathe, to rise above the ego's need for dominance. The ant does not attack you. It does not sting, does not speak. It only walks quietly across your floor. And yet in that moment, it becomes a test greater than its size. In your daily life, how often do you crush what you could have gently moved aside? Not just in the literal sense, but in your relationships. With your spouse, when tension arises, do you meet it with force or with softness? With your children, when they err, do you correct with wisdom? Or do you strike with the weight of your disappointment? With your neighbors, co-workers, the people who serve you, do you carry the need to overpower or the strength to guide? The ant teaches restraint. It asks nothing of you except mercy. Its presence is a lesson in how to respond to the minor irritations of life with dignity, not destruction. And perhaps that is one of the most overlooked forms of worship, the moment you choose not to harm when you have the power to do so. This is not weakness, it is mastery. The soul that refrains from needless harm, that moves with care, even toward the smallest of creatures, is a soul that walks with light, aware that every action echoes in a world far more connected than it appears. You were walking, perhaps lost in thought, or rushing toward some imagined urgency, when you felt the faintest touch upon your skin, barely noticeable, yet enough to stop you. You looked down and saw it a small ant, moving with purpose, unaware that its presence would jolt you out of your wandering. That moment, so small, so easily dismissed, is not an accident. It is a whisper, a subtle knock on the door of your awareness. And not from the ant, but from the one who sends signs through all things, both grand and infinitesimal. This is the final message it brings, not one of outer order or patience, but of inner awakening. For what is heedlessness, if not the condition of being present in body while absent in soul? We walk, we speak, we eat, we pray, but the heart sleeps. Our gaze touches everything but sees nothing. Our ears hear, but they do not listen. And so the ant comes as a quiet messenger, not to speak to the intellect, but to stir the slumbering heart. There are few creatures smaller, and yet it carries the weight of a message that reaches the heavens. Wake up. The world around you is not dead matter. It is alive with signs, each one crafted by the hand of the Eternal. Each one pointing not to itself, but to the one behind the veil. When you feel that tickle at your feet, it is not just an insect on your skin. It is the real reminding you that you are drifting, that life is passing you by moment while your soul is elsewhere. You breathe, but are you aware that each breath is a gift wrapped in divine mercy? You speak, but do your words emerge from presence or from habit? You move through time, but do you remember that time is not yours? It is on loan, and it is fading. The ant does not need reminders. It does not forget its path. It walks in full submission to the laws placed upon it. Its entire being is Dhikr, remembrance in action. And yet you, with a heart that has the capacity to know the divine, often drift in forgetfulness. How strange it is that a creature so small may be more awake than the one who was created to stand as the representative of divine trust on earth. But this is not a condemnation. It is a calling. A call to return to the now. To shed the illusions of yesterday and the anxieties of tomorrow and stand, even for a breath, in the stillness of what is. For in that stillness, you meet your Lord. In that awareness, you remember who you are. So the ant comes, not to invade, not to annoy, but to awaken. to remind you that presence is the doorway to remembrance, and remembrance is the key to intimacy. And if even an ant is part of the divine symphony, then what is your note? Will you remain asleep while everything else sings? Or will you open your eyes, return to the moment, and remember? So the next time you find an ant crawling across your kitchen counter, or disappearing beneath the folds of your rug, resist the urge to see it as a nuisance. Resist the reflex to destroy what you do not understand. Pause instead. Let that moment open a door within you, a door that leads not outwards, but inward, toward the subtle signs your Lord has placed all around you, waiting for your heart to awaken and behold. We were not created merely to react, but to reflect. Not just to survive, but to perceive. The one who fashioned the stars and balanced the galaxies also fashioned the ant, guided it to its path, and permitted it entry into your home, not by mistake, but with meaning. Allah does not speak only through revelations carved into stone, or verses recited in the quietude of the night. He also speaks through movement, through interruption, through the tiniest tremble of life beneath our feet. It is easy to search for God in the extraordinary, the miracles, the dreams, the moments that take your breath away. But what if the real miracle is your breath itself? What if the ant, crawling with no voice, no grandeur, is a verse written in the language of presence? A verse you can only read when the noise of your ego quiets, when the clamor of your distractions fades. To walk the path of inner knowing is to train the soul to listen, to hear the call that comes not only from minarets, but from the very soil beneath you. Every creature becomes a teacher. Every occurrence becomes a lesson. Every disturbance becomes a veil to be lifted. And the ones who truly know are not those who have memorized the most, but those whose hearts have become soft enough to feel the sacredness pulsing through all things. Do not be quick to dismiss. Do not label too fast what enters your life as good or bad, welcome or unwelcome. For often, the divine dresses his messengers in garments you would not expect. Sometimes they come as joy, sometimes as sorrow, and sometimes they come with 6 legs and silent feet, reminding you of cleanliness, of order, of patience, of gratitude, of presence. What you call a pest may, in truth, be an angel in disguise, sent to show you what you've forgotten or what you have yet to see. So walk gently in this world, be slow to anger, be quick to reflect, and know that every moment holds a hidden thread connecting you to the one who sees you always. There are no coincidences for the one who is awake, only messages, only signs, only love in veiled form, knocking softly, asking, "Are you ready to see me here too?" O Allah, make our hearts like the ant, humble, tireless, and focused. Make our homes pure and our lives ordered. Let us not miss your signs, even in the smallest creatures, and awaken us from heedlessness before the hour comes when reflection no longer avails. Ameen.